Hello and welcome. My name is Andy Kearns. I will be the moderator today. In a second, I'll go through who's joining us, but I want to welcome you to this webinar where we'll talk about how successful insurers are using AI to solve targeted claims challenges. And we'll really dive in to the concept of how implementing AI into your already successful processes make it for a successful implementation and bring value to your organization right from the get-go. So I'd like to welcome to the webinar with me an esteemed panel of guests, and they will help to present on this topic and on this information. Joining us, a partner from the Everest Group, Ronak Doshi, SVP of Global Excel Management, Pascal Tanguay, our Industry Vice President for Insurance at Appian, Jake Sloan, and our Global Head of Insurance Solutions, Sham Somani. So I'm very excited to have this group of people, many years of insurance expertise, faces that you all know and love, and we'll kind of dive right in. So we're going to start with some, on our agenda today, we'll start with some questions and a panel discussion with the panelists. Pascal from Global Excel has been kind enough to, as we get towards the end of the questions, he'll share some of his experiences as they've implemented AI within their organization. And then Sham is going to take us through a demonstration of some claims automation and intelligent underwriting for life in this as well. So we're going to see some pretty exciting things. So we'll start off with our first question. And this question is for Ronak from Everest. So Ronak, what are the biggest challenges that you see insurers face as they try to modernize core claims operations? And really this, of course, as your recent findings from your claims report, what are the leading modernization systems doing to stay competitive and help insurers innovate in their claims processes with AI?
Andy, that's a great question. And I would say across all our research, and specifically for our latest one, you would hear that data sprawl and context gaps is one of the number one challenge that everybody highlights as a key issues in driving their claims transformations. Because if you look at all the claims data, it's kind of hiding or in silos, like you have it in different systems, right? Be it your multiple core repositories, or it's in multiple document processing systems, it's in payment systems, and so on and so forth. Now, if you look at from an AI technology perspective, if you are only seeing a slice of the data, it is not as effective because it's not using the full power of what you have as data. And this is where we are seeing claims leaders are focusing on investing in building the data fabric, right? This is the virtual layer of data which you can now govern, manage, and run a lot of the AI use cases on top of it, and make sure that the full context of the claims data is getting into your processes from the first notice of loss to triaging to adjudication to payment. So I would say across our research, the filling this data, managing this data sprawl and context gap is the number one challenge that everybody's trying to address in different ways. The second that I would say is we've all done a lot of technology modernizations over the period of years. And as we do that, it becomes challenging in terms of how do you address issues when it comes to bolt-on AI, right? Because a lot of the bolt-on AI is fragile. It is not delivering the results that we need. And I think that's the second piece, which is how do I embed AI, not as a bolt-on, but within the processes and the core workflows. I would say that's the second thing that we are looking at. And the third that I would say is talent, right? Because with AI, you look at the role of adjusters, right? It's now not just going to be data hunting, but it's going to be more categorically looking at, hey, how do I get to exception handling, right? How do I kind of use AI and drive more outsized impact? So you'll have to do a lot of investments in talent skilling and other pieces. So a lot of investments across modernization in data, process, talent, and technology kind of to drive the critical issues that we've highlighted out here.
Thanks, Ronak. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing similar challenges, and you've articulated very well really what a lot of people are saying to us as they go through that data component is hugely important, but you can never forget what it means to have good talent in your organization and how important that really comes down to it. Because at the end of the day, good processes, good people, good things make good things happen. So thank you so much. I want to jump to the next question and bring Jake on the stage here. So Jake, as you're traveling the globe and having conversations with insurers, where do you see the greatest opportunity for AI and insurance claims over the next 12 to 18 months?
Certainly. No, it's good to see you and the team. And I don't know if everybody lost Ronak's video, but I lost his video feed, just as a heads up, Ronak. So when we look at the opportunities globally, what we see largely is around IDP, or intelligent document processing automation. Appian's AI Doc Center allows users to really train models more easily, extract data. We're trained largely to the unstructured document capabilities. So from a faster intake, a more accurate data capture perspective, and seamless handoffs between tasks like fraud detection, automated triaging, and such. Secondly, we've looked through a lot of focus on enhanced fraud detection. And so if you think about how these AI-driven technologies across the claims lifecycle, you noted we've got incredible colleagues. We've got colleagues focused on the fraud aspect. Yet we saw, and there's a lot of different point solutions out there, whether it be from Shift or Frisk or others. And so we see a lot of best-in-class focus and investment. Yet we don't see a single capability that unifies it all together. And so we've got a number of tech partnerships, a number of focused areas on early fraud detection. And then when you think about, from a Gen AI, for claims operations perspective, how, it's enabling, these ability to read the claims correspondence, read attachments, ingest data. So there's one aspect to, of course, extract the data, have a high rate of extraction, accuracy. It's another from the contextualization that the Gen AI capability brings in. And then that's lastly the fourth point here, which is really the next best action, the recommendations. And so when we think about, being AI powered and capabilities like, classification or workflow categorization, we're talking about the next best action that really keeps that work item off of your colleague and really allows them to then focus, your claims examiner, your adjusters, to really focus on those truly unique, complex cases, in contrast to, what was before. Maybe the low stuff has been, automated largely. Low complexities have been largely automated through, core admin or legacy systems. As you go kind of up in the complexity stack, we're now seeing in summary that next best action recommendations for mid-complex to more complex work is also a focus area.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, we're having great conversations with the insurers on those exact topics. I appreciate that. And Ronak, if you don't mind jumping in on this one, as you look to the next 12 to 18 months, what do you see as the greatest opportunity for AI in insurance?
Sure. And Jake, thanks for letting me know my video kind of went off. So I would say the near-term value is embedded triage and straight-through processing for low complexity claims, right? Let's learn, use the technology, get to the, all the kinks out, like again, test it out, run it really well. And this is where, when predictive models and computer vision are part of the intake and eliminating steps, like not bolted on later, we see carriers, cut cycle time, right? We've seen one case where it was almost 75%, right? And it frees the adjusters to focus on more complex losses. So I would say that's the number one to definitely start with. The second one, I think my favorite one is the adjuster copilot, right, for documentations and communications, because I think this is the most clever use of generative AI as a technology, right? From drafting of notes, summaries, claimant email generation. It's not just time saving, but it's also helping in terms of the overall quality and consistency. The third one definitely is fraud. If we can bring together, a lot of the different data, right? Again, some things about claim submission, voice, document, external data. It can help us to do a bit of an early warning signals on fraud, right? Flag it better. And it also helps in overall subrogation targeting. So I would say that's the second one. And then definitely, right, again, I think what Appian team is doing in terms of data fabric, it is an overall AI force multiplier in my view. So how do you kind of take the claims relevant data across systems so that AI agent can act with full context? I would say those definitely for me are like opportunities in the next 6 to 12 months for carriers overall.
Thank you, Ronak. Appreciate that. And also, I forgot to mention at the top of the webinar here, if you do have a question, We do have a Q&A version or section on the webinar that you can type in questions, and we'll do our best to get to those, although some of them we might take offline afterwards. But next I want to bring Pascal on stage. So Pascal with Global Excel Management has done a fantastic job in their organization of bringing AI into the claims process. So we'd just love to hear from you, Pascal, on what was the start of your AI claims processing transformation? What are you expecting the process to look like? What does it look like today, and what do you expect it to look like a year from now?
Thank you, Andrew. For sure. So it all comes from the evolution of our claim operating model, digital transformations, and we're actually using SAFe, right? Agile, where we integrated AI effort into overall target operating model transformation, aligning, of course, the governance, investment, the change management with the business objective. We set up clear steering and governance process, defining like the roles, ensuring the quick, accountable decision-making process. From there, right, we pick 3 narrowly scoped high-signal use cases in the claim journey. First of all, intake and the triage, right? Secondly, the evidence summarizations, and lastly, the fraud detections. Because they touch every claims and create visible wins without risking core educations, we stood up the data plumbing, of course, like the document taxonomy, sensitive data handling, claim file retrieval. Then we created the human-in-the-loop design for accuracy and oversight, and responsible AI controls such as traceability, observability, and the red flags, and link from day one. Why have we started with the intake and triage? You may ask yourself. It's a very good question. So we began our journey from the front door of the claim process, intake and triage, because that's where the experience and the data foundation intersects. Every claim starts here, and if the data is incomplete or inconsistent, every downstream step suffers. By focusing on the intake, we could, 1, eliminate frictions for customers. Guided digital intake reduces the back and forth, ensures completeness, and set the tone for positive experience, right? Then we build a reliable data ingestion layer, accurate classification, structure extraction at the start, create the single source of truth that advanced automation depends on. And lastly, it enables faster decision. When necessary, receive clean, pre-validated data, they can make decisions without chasing missing informations. How does it work, right? So the digital intakes capture the documents and the metadata in a structured way, where the AI classification identify the documents type, so the invoice, the medical reports, IDs being passed on, right? And then we use the field extraction to pull the key data elements needed for claim processing. And from there, we can apply data validation rules based on the policies, the business knowledge, so we can check the policy numbers, if the dates matches, and the amounts that are being passed, and so much more, so that we have the claim that can move forwards. What are the natural next steps after that? Obviously, once we have the structured validated data, then we can focus on simplifying access for assessor. So a claim digest and timeline that aggregates all the relevant information and the red flagging, such as discrepancies in the data being passed on, or the unusual look, basically, of a document, right? Then we can first draft the correspondence or messages to reduce the repetitive task for assessors. And of course, a little bit less sticky, but as important, the customer feedback loops to continuously improve the experience. Where we're going next? Over the next year, we'll continue to mesh like specialized AI agents, such as the one we were highlighting earlier. So the intake classification, the extraction, fraud flagging, and some more for the decision support. Under a single orchestration and governance model, these agents will share signals, require information, feeding an explainable decision model that surfaces next best action to adjuster. Leaders will see this as a shorter cycle times, more consistent quality, earlier fraud detection, and better claimant experience, with human accountability at every single decision gates. That's how we see the futures.
Thank you so much, Pascal. I mean, it's very clear that you had a comprehensive plan, that you're delivering on that plan, and you've got a great way to measure results. So I think those are some other things that will help you be very successful and are kind of best practices as we look for the other opportunities. So Jake, I want to bring you back on stage real quick and ask this question to you. Insurance companies often struggle to balance speed of innovation with risk management. What strategies can help ensure that AI adoption and claims aligns with business goals while mitigating risks like data security and bias?
Yeah, great question. So if you look at the successful the strategies for the balance, for instance, if you look at the successful AI adoption, you're really required to balance careful change management with concrete metrics such as response times or user satisfaction scores. You've got to have governance guardrails. Then there's already governance guardrails today. It's just a matter of now how you use new enabling capabilities to make those even more clearly understood across the organization, and then how you take action on those risk signals, whether it be from a regulatory perspective, algorithmic bias, AI, the hallucinations that I'm sure the attendees have all heard horror stories about, right? And how you can evaluate those at regular intervals. And so if you think about how leading insurers are adopting these phased approaches, it's really to deliver incremental value while also managing the risk that those often present, and then the clear roadmaps for how legacy systems are either ring fenced with this enabling capability from say a solution like Appian's connected claims, or via API layers, or how you can implement comprehensive training programs that really help claims professionals understand how the automation really is a complement or it's an augment rather than replacing their roles. So from a culture adoption, it's very critical that you also have these programs in place. But lastly, I'll just say from data fabric for Appian's perspective, allows you to help hook into these and data sources, and helps you balance the innovation speed with the risk management. And it's been an incredible capability that really complements any kind of AI strategy for these insurers overall.
Thanks, Jake. And similar to what Pascal mentioned, we talked about governance, and it seems to be a very critical component of setting yourself up for success, is to have good governance and understanding from top of leadership all the way down to have an idea of what you're looking for and how you want to implement it. So
absolutely
appreciate that. So last question before we jump into the demo, and this I'll go to Pascal and then see if Ronak has a couple of ideas at the end. What advice would you give to insurers just starting their AI and automation journey in claims, Pascal?
That's a very good question. I think I'm going back a little bit on what Jake was saying, right? Clear objective and measurable KPIs. I think that's the key, right? The idea is to really understand where you're going. If you don't have this, obviously it creates issues down the line, and then the success is untangible. And what we need using AI is something very concrete. The second one I'd say is, let's say you need to gather a list of what you do have and then categorize them by, I'd say, low complexity, high impact. Why you do that? Because again, what you want is really have concrete success and build on success like building blocks, right? I'd say then invest on the data readiness, back on what Ronak was mentioning, right? AI is data automations. So of course, better the data is, better success would be looking like. Think scalability and reusability in the process, create like smaller reusable agent, right? So because that's the keywords now, right? We're talking about a lot of agentics, but that's true. Those smaller increments basically enable a lot more businesses, and of course you have again really faster, which is the key there. And I'd say even there, focus maybe on some of the API first architecture to support that, and then of course balance automation with the human oversight at this point. Why? Because it's highly complex, right? When we're getting into this, and having that supervision, I'd say diminish the risk of putting that on that, and you gain a lot more success from that visibility standpoint. And I'd say address compliance and ethical AI early with the observability built in, baked in from day one, right? Smaller it is, easier it is to implement. So that would be, I'd say, the advice I can give for anyone going to that journey today.
Thank you so much. And Ronak, to close us out on this session, anything from your that you give us specific advice for carriers as they start to go down the AI and automation path?
Sure. No, I think I'm going to double down on what Pascal said, right? As you look at AI and automation journey, it becomes very important to kind of address the deficits we have in the organization across process, data, technology, and talent to be able to kind of drive the value. Because we've all heard, right, applying automation and AI to broken processes, data, technology, and talent model is not going to work. So addressing those are going to be important. The second piece that I do believe, and I think Pascal made a very good point about the human in the loop, because you want to know, okay, how are the exceptions going to be handled? How are you going to make sure, you'll need to kind of retrain models and kind of get that feedback loop going so that we can get better. Overall, from a risk and compliance perspective, also, it's very important because these technologies are evolving, but they also carry some bit of risk for the organizations. So everything from responsible AI in terms of how data is managed from a privacy and compliance perspective, everything from EU AI Act at one end, otherwise state regulations in the US, what NAIC has to say. So all of those are very important pieces to kind of organize ourselves on, create our governance teams on it. And then harden I would say, the fraud defenses early, because as we're going to use AI, there's also going to be AI used on the fraud side. So how do we kind of make sure we are doing media provenance checks to make sure any anomaly screening is happening at the first notice of loss to counter for fraud, right? So definitely several things to do on that journey, but there's so much of value to be created, which is what I look forward to as we think about AI adoption. So measuring the value and continuously kind of reporting it back from a dashboard perspective to the leadership is a very good way to drive the adoption wave.
Thank you so much, Ronak. Now we're going to transition to a demonstration. So if we can have Sham join on the screen here, then he's going to walk us through the Appian connected claims and voice over some of the AI capabilities that are built in there.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew, and thanks, everyone. I'm going to walk through a scenario to illustrate how AI can be integrated into the claims journey using the connected claim solution. So, Andy, if you can play the video, please. Thank you. Yeah, so let's dive into how connected claims actually works in action. I'm going to use an example that most of us unfortunately can relate to: getting in a car accident. Whether you have a small fender bender or something more serious, the burden and uncertainty around processing times can be very frustrating. Imagine you just got T-boned by someone, you're shaken up, you find the claim form online, include a receipt from the towing company because the vehicle is not drivable, and email it to your insurance company's mailbox. Now, traditionally, this would kick off a very manual, time-consuming process, and adjuster may not get to your claim right away since it came in through a common mailbox and needs to be routed properly. But using connected claims with AI built into the workflow, your claim can start being processed from the moment it was submitted. So the email has been sent. Now we are actually in connected claims. You're looking at the list of claims, and the most recent one at the top here was ingested through the email. The system quickly reviewed the claim form, all the details which came in the email, the photos, the receipts, and using the generative AI, we are able to extract key details about the vehicles involved, the time of loss, the description of the incident, location, and we are able to automatically set up a new claim in connected claims, avoiding this manual data entry and tedious back and forth email. This reduces what could be hours of processing time down to seconds, and also gives insurance companies the ability to process claims around the clock, even outside of business hours. Now that the claim is in the system, we have to assign it to an adjuster. And this is, again, a pain point, very manual process, inconsistent and time consuming as well. Determining who the claim should be routed to based on the claim complexity, severity, can increase delays and processing times. So we are using AI to do this assignment automatically to eliminate the guesswork, but also make sure the claims are getting to the right people instantly. We used AI to read the loss description, identify that this is the multi-car collision with no injuries, and based on the nature of the loss and the insurance company's preferences, the system automatically assigns it to the senior adjuster in the department. So the claim now lands on a senior adjuster's desk. It is front and center on the adjuster's workspace, where they're also able to see key tasks and due dates. So let's take it the collision claim, which was just set up. Here is the summary page. This is the source of truth for everything for the claim. And thanks to AI, the information isn't just collected, it's organized and made actionable. The adjuster can clearly see their assigned tasks, as well as their progress towards the key milestones in the journey, like triage, enrichment, and settlement. It's all designed to keep the process moving forward efficiently with complete visibility every step of the way. You'll also notice that this claim has been flagged for a subrogation review because during the assignment process, it was detected that multiple parties were involved and the other party may be liable for the accident. So identifying claims with subrogation potential early on helps on to reduce the claims leakage for the insurers. Towards the bottom, we also see the AI-generated comment summary. So instead of scrolling through the long notes or trying to piece together a story from 15 different updates, the adjuster gets an instant narrative summarizing the conversation and activities on the claims so far. Now, the next feature, what we're going to look at is the AI Copilot feature. We know that the adjusters are busier than ever, and sometimes you just need quick answers. So with our AI Copilot, which is right there on the claim summary page, they can chat directly with the claim anytime they want. And adjuster can ask things like, summarize the claim for me. And the AI basically generates a summary of the claim, which they can review and come up to speed on what this claim is all about, who is involved, what information is present in this claim, and again, getting a sense of where things are with the claim. They can also ask questions about, has a police report been received? Again, just the documents which typically they like to see for that type of a claim. Those questions can all be asked here to the AI Copilot. Any questions around the coverages as well, right? Because we have access to the policy document, so they can immediately help out the claimant by providing them a rental car in their case their claim, in case their car is not drivable. Next up on the adjuster to-do list is completing the fraud detection questionnaire, which luckily has been completed here because this adjuster is super proactive. This is another area where we have embedded AI into the process by analyzing the responses and generating a fraud risk score. In this case, the score came back as 2, which is classified by this insurer as a low fraud risk. The system provides additional context around the score, stating that most responses were consistent and non-suspicious. However, 2 factors contributed to the score, and again, they are summarized here as part of this AI summary. Medical attention was not sought immediately after the accident, which can sometimes indicate a potential for exaggerated or unrelated injury claims. There are no independent witnesses, which limits the ability to corroborate the claimant's account of the accident. With these, while these responses do warrant routine due diligence, there are no strong indicators of fraudulent activity at this time, and the claim does not meet the threshold for referral to the SIU. So they can proceed with this claim with just the standard processing. But in case if the score was higher, and this would be categorized as the high fraud risk, the system would automatically flag this claim and send it to the SIU for more further analysis. Now, a few days after the accident, the claimant received a copy of the official police report and then sent it over to the insurance company through email. And we can ingest all the documents which come as part of the follow-up email and attach it to the claim record. So now we are on the documents tab. This is the centralized hub for all claim-related documents, whether it's claim forms, estimates, reports, photos, you just name it. Everything is stored in one place for easy access and reference. And with our AI-powered summary, all PDF documents, basically you can just view quickly what are the key points in this document without somebody scrolling through the pages of text. So here's an AI-generated summary of the police report we just received. And in the seconds, the system extracts critical details like the location, parties involved, any citations issued, any noted damage or injuries, and giving the adjuster the insights they need to move the claim forward. And this can work for a police report or a policy document in case if they want to review the coverages. It can also analyze the photos, which was submitted with the claim. So we submitted this photo, which basically shows 2 cars involved in an accident. And using this, the AI is able to generate or identify which parts of the vehicles are affected. And we looked at, it's the front passenger door, which needs replaced, along with the front fender, which was heavily bent, and the driver's side mirror also has some scratches which can be repaired. And this will generate a preliminary cost estimate, including the labors, the materials, the replacement parts. All of this information is brought over to the cost estimate screen. Now, where the adjuster can review a summary of all anticipated costs associated with this claim. And you will also notice the towing expenses also included here as well. This again came with that email, which was originally submitted, giving an adjuster a head start on calculating the damage estimates, adjusting the reserves, expediting the repair process, and allowing the adjusters to swiftly go through the rest of the steps in the claim journey and close the claim. Coming now to the financials, where they're looking at the loss reserves, and if they want to initiate any payments, they can do all from this screen. The financials tab within the connected claims gives the adjuster a streamlined process for reserve management and initiating payments. So they can just say initiate payment, fill out all the details like who the payment needs to be made to, how you want to send the payment, through bank or through a physical check, what are you paying for, and any other details which you may want to include and send downstreams to the payment check printing system, where the check will eventually be sent out to the claimant. So again, we just walked through this entire claim journey. The adjuster was able to assess the claim, verify coverage, check for fraud, determine estimates, identify subrogation, recovery potential, and is now ready to settle the claim. So again, we carefully looked at the entire journey and have infused AI in the steps where it can really augment and accelerate this whole journey. So with connected claims, again, the goal is to strategically integrate AI and automation into the process, and again, keeping the humans involved while empowering the claims team to work more efficiently and ultimately improving customer satisfaction while eliminating common pain points like delays, manual handoffs, and communication gaps. So again, if you're ready to imagine your claims experience, again, happy to discuss more further. Back to you, Andy.
Thank you so much, Shaman. And just real quick while you're here, we did get one question in the chat that says, is the AI Copilot feature embedded into Appian as native, or does it call an AI service?
It is native to the solution. It is part of the product.
Very good. Thank you so much. That's a powerful demo. I appreciate you taking the time to share that with us. We did have one other question, so I'll jump to that. And if there's any other, please feel free to include them. Jake and Pascal, I'll start with you, Jake, and then Pascal, if you have some questions or some comments on this as well. The question came in from Tony. It says, thank you for the information so far. Has there been any insurer who has introduced AI agents in place of a human? If so, how have they been used in customer-facing roles, and what are the tangible financial savings?
Yeah, great question. So we've had several insurers, in fact, working with our partnership with AWS Connect to create, essentially a seamless omni-channel approach to customer service, and especially leveraging AI features. So if you look at this, for the audience, AWS Connect is a very robust telephony platform, traditional voice, as well as it transcribes and does a lot of work. And so we have experience in the claims context, when you have, for instance, a claimant that's come in and maybe in a traditional voice channel, they maybe receive, evidence of artifacts where you use Appian Data Fabric aligned to connected claims to then be able to, take the next best action. And so some of the agentic use cases so far have really been around the omni-channel capability, holding a claims agent for customer service inquiries, being able to provide, that same channel, answer consistently. And then from an operational cost perspective, AI chatbots cut operations costs. Industry average is roughly 25%. You also see, there's a lot of stats on accelerated overall, compressing the claim timeline, just because of the accuracy and the speed of answer. And one other, kind of call out here, maybe not right in the agentic context, but when we look at how insurers and how customers have taken this approach, they've looked at the claims examiner or the adjuster, or the customer service colleague, and they've done a skills map that we've done, with them, where you can take, say, there's 15 core skills, and you're looking at what would be handled from entry level, what could be handled from maybe mid contact, or maybe it's very expert. And so by mapping those skills and being able to provide that kind of approach, you can then bifurcate what's best in class for the for the claims agent, what's best in class for human in the loop, and so on. And that's been the approach. But maybe Pascal, any additional perspective from your experience?
No, it's similar, right? I think the approach at this point in time, it all depends of how you perceive this. And from our perspective, we're more working on how can we assist, still having the human ready there, and because of the expertise, right? And also some of the complexity of the claims. How can we bring more value to such an expert, right? So they can spend more time with the customer instead of finding information, let's say, across. Can we use the AI technology to bring the information together for them, and then they can spend the time, right, with the person which is our in needs. So I guess at this point, it depends on the perspectives, obviously, right? But certainly as things goes, AI is going to take more and more some of those tasks, like as you were mentioning, those easy tasks that are very, very repetitive. But that's our point of view at this moment, for sure.
Yeah, really focus on operational expense reduction. So yeah, great question. And you're on mute.
Am I still on mute?
No, you're off. You're good.
Okay. Hey, really appreciate people tuning in. Thank you so much to our wonderful panel. Thank you to Ronak, to Pascal, to Jake, to Sham, and thank you for the questions. We are very passionate about AI and transforming the capabilities within insurance. We know that the future is going to have being incorporated with a lot of AI. And as we think about the short term, we think about how do you bring it into your existing processes? How do you set up your organization, as was mentioned many times, make sure that your data is prepared for it, make sure that your organization is prepared for it, that you have governance and guidelines so the implementation becomes successful. So thanks again for joining us. Have a wonderful week, and reach out to Appian if you have any questions.